Hello everyone and welcome back to the Keep Productive YouTube channel. It is Francesco here. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. We have Michael Hyatt in the house. It's great to have you, Michael. Where are you joining us from?
Thanks, Francesco. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, is it good weather?
No, it's terrible. It's about -4 Celsius right now.
Oh,
and for us, that's very cold. It's the coldest day we've had so far this year.
oh, blimey. That sounds like a coat day.
Yeah.
It's been all right today. It's been a bit rainy here, so not the best of starts, but a fairly good one at least.
Good.
And, for those who don't know who you are already, Michael, it'd be perfect if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, I spent most of my career in the book publishing industry. Worked about in every department, every part of book publishing, but I'm an author, a speaker. I've got an online membership community and created a lot of online courses, a couple New York Times bestselling books. And yeah, the most recent book is Your Best Year Ever. But the book that's just about to come out as we're recording this is a new book called Free to Focus.
Yeah, it's quite an exciting book. I mean, you guys sent me an advance copy and I'm enjoying it. As I said to you before, super slow reader, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And
Good.
obviously all of your books before have been really well put together. So it's going to be quite an exciting one, I can imagine.
Thank you.
And obviously for that, what was your inspiration for this one? Obviously, I know when obviously at the start of the book, you had a few moments where you realized focus needs to be the focus. But what sort of inspired you to do this book?
Well, a couple things, really. One of the things I noticed in my own life is that all the plethora of productivity tools, apps and books and all that wasn't really leading to a decrease in time that we spent at work, but in fact was multiplying the complexity and the amount of time we spent at work. Plus, with the advent of social media and texting and all kinds of apps, people were losing their focus. And I noticed it in my clients, I noticed it in myself. And it's in that focused work where we can really move the needle in our business and our personal life and accomplish what matters most. And without that focus, we're just distracted. Our attention's in 1,000 different places and nowhere at once. And I really wanted to remedy that. So it was making myself the project at first, which I began about 10 years ago, and then applying it to my clients. I've got thousands of people that have gone through the Free to Focus course now. So we've had a lot of input from real clients and what's worked for them and what hasn't. So it was all of that kind of wrapped up together. And probably the biggest motivating force was I thought to myself, how could I achieve more by doing less? Because so often our premise is the only way to accomplish more is to do more. And it's what I call the hustle fallacy. And I think it leads to a lot of burnout.
100%, yeah. And I think as I'm reading this book and a couple of other books on the same topic, it's slowly dawning on me, because I was very similar to a lot of people when they get started with a business or an opportunity. You just put so much time and energy into it, and it doesn't sort of come back necessarily.
So true.
And you just need to make sure it's the right time and attention you're spending it on. One of the questions I had to you was obviously this sort of idea of focus is so important, and procrastination itself is obviously riot. Do you have any tips for people that are lacking in that sort of that focus and are able to sort of rechannel themselves?
Yeah, well, part of it is I think you've got to get off the dopamine addiction that is presented by the complexity of all the different apps that we're trying to run. Multitasking, I can remember back when that was heralded or esteemed as something that you would aspire to. To be able to multitask, that was a good thing, because there's too many things to give singular focus to any one thing. You got to be able to multitask, right? Well, as it turns out, all the science says that that's crazy. We can't actually multitask. All we can do is time slice. So we move from this task to that task. And in the interim, what happens is what Cal Newport, the author of Deep Work, talks about. We have sort of this attention residue where our attention takes a while to catch up with the new focus. So it's incredibly inefficient and it's not conducive to focus at all. So in order to be able to stay focused, we've got to be able to close down all the other apps. We've got to be able to turn off social media and only use sort of the bare essentials. It's sort of like the minimalism is the new maximalism. We got to pare it down to focus on the things that are truly important and avoid that dopamine hit that happens with our biochemistry when we encounter a problem that's difficult to solve, or we're trying to create something and we think, let me just check Facebook for a minute, or I'm going to jump over here to Twitter. And the truth is, that's what's at war with us being truly productive. And the big social media companies know that. They're fighting for your attention because they're repackaging our eyeballs and our attention, and they're selling it to the highest bidder in terms of advertisers. So that's what we're fighting against. So we got to be smart about it. We got to be intentional. We've got to have a strategy.
Definitely. And in the book, you outlined this methodology, this step-by-step process. It's 3 steps, right? And maybe you could give a brief overview of what those steps are.
Yeah, well, surprisingly, the first step in the whole process, I call simply stop. And the idea is that we have to stop. We have to formulate a vision for what we want out of productivity. And so often productivity is seen as the end game. And in my view and in my system, it's a means to an end. So what's the vision of what productivity is going to get us? And from my perspective, the only thing that I want is I want more freedom. I want more freedom to do the things I love, the things that I'm good at, the time to spend with my family, time to cultivate and nurture my health. So formulate is the first part of that stop module. The second thing is to evaluate, to actually evaluate where we are in relationship to that vision. You know, what are we spending our time on? Are we spending on time on the things that energize us or the things that drain us? And I've got a tool there that we can talk about in a minute if you want to, called the Freedom Compass. So let's evaluate. The third component of that first stop section is all about rejuvenate. Now that seems like an odd title, to rejuvenate, but as it turns out, your level of rest, the nutrition, the exercise you do, all of that has a greater impact on your productivity than almost anything else. And that's because productivity is more about managing your energy than actually managing your time. And a lot of people get this confused. So that's the first third of the book. That's about stopping. The second part of the book is about cutting. Once you've got a clear vision, once you've evaluated where you are, once you're rested, then you can go in and start whacking all the stuff that doesn't fit your vision for productivity. And we do that through 3 chapters. One is eliminate. What can just go away? You know, it really doesn't hurt anyone if it just disappeared. Secondly, what can we automate? I mean, the tools. I know you're deep into all kinds of tools, software tools, but it's amazing what we can automate today and put on autopilot. But one of the things I talk about that's not software per se, but is rituals. Automating ourselves, putting ourselves on autopilot so we don't have to think so much about setting ourselves up, for example, for a productive day. And then I also talk about delegation. And delegating is one of the most important tools if you're going to scale yourself, if you're going to grow your business, if you're going to expand your life. Then in the final third of the book, I talk about finally act. You know, how can we consolidate our activities so we think through like an ideal week? How can we mega batch? How can we set ourselves up for, I call it the 3x3 strategy, where we have 3 important goals for the quarter, 3 important priorities for the week, and 3 must-do tasks for today. And then I talk about how do we deal with all the distractions, how we deal with the interruptions, and all the stuff that we typically think about when we think of productivity. So in a nutshell, that's the book, and that's what it looks like.
It's fun. It's really good so far, and I think what's quite nice about it is it's got loads of like actionable examples, and like I think I've just started to stop that step, and the amount of statistics that are in it that scare me, like the ones that you included about like social media and things like that. I'm like, oh no, you know, it can be, it's massively dangerous and all of this side of stuff, isn't it?
It really is dangerous, and I think that we have to acknowledge that we're totally outgunned. We've got social media companies like Facebook spending literally billions of dollars figuring out how they can hijack our neurocircuitry, our biochemistry, and keep us engaged, because their entire business model really is dependent on us spending as much time as possible on Facebook. And Instagram, no different. Twitter, no different. Facebook just happens to be, you know, the big kid, the big bully on the block. But that's where we've got to be intelligent. We've got to take back control of our life. Otherwise, it's kind of like the Matrix. We're just kind of in a pod being sucked dry by these robots for some nefarious end. And we got to be smarter than that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of software out there where we can use software to fight software and regain our attention and our focus and accomplish what's most important for us.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very scary stuff. But on the topic of software, obviously that's how I first spoke to you, reached out to you, was on the topic of Notion. Obviously, yes. That is something that you're very interested in at the moment, aren't you?
I am. Are you talking about Notion in particular or just software in general?
Notion.
Yeah. So Notion, I had a infatuation with it initially and then a love affair. And now it's a maturing relationship. But I was intrigued from the moment I tried it. And mostly because it kind of put the fun back in software and gave me tools to create software, or at least solutions that didn't require a lot of programming. And of course, you know this because we talked about it before we started recording, is that I've been an Evernote fan for years. I think I originally came on board with Evernote back in 2008, right after they launched. I've written a ton of articles on Evernote, and I really thought that Notion was the Evernote killer. I don't think that anymore, but they do some similar things, but I do love Notion.
It's getting there, isn't it? It's just, like you said, a few things away, a few features away for sure. No, but it's obviously great to hear that you've been sort of playing around in that space too. So my final question is, like when somebody reads this book, and I think sometimes one of the trickiest things is trying to convince other people as well to endorse these sorts of things, whether somebody wants to try and convince a friend or a relative or a wife or a husband. Do you have any tips in terms of approaching them about this sort of strategy or good quality learnings?
Sure. Well, I guess I would say to people who are trying to convince a friend to read the book, or maybe they're thinking about reading the book for themselves, I would just say, how is your current productivity system working out for you? Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you find yourself procrastinating? Do you find yourself increasingly less likely to focus because your attention is scattered in 1,000 different directions? If so, this book is written for you. I would say for people who have read Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, or his new book, Digital Minimalism, this kind of takes what I think is, in his case, a lot of theory and really good theory and applies it in a really practical way. But if you want to achieve more by doing less, because I really believe, and the thing that motivates me, Francesco, more than anything, is helping people win at work and succeed at life. I'm not willing to compromise my personal life for the sake of my professional life, but I'm also not willing to throttle my ambition professionally for the sake of my personal life. And I really believe that you can have both. But, and this is the key, you've got to restrict your focus. You can't be focused on everything. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Greg McKeown who authored the book Essentialism. He said, you can achieve anything you want, you just can't achieve everything you want. So you've got to narrow your focus, and this book is really designed to show you how.
Yeah, it's going to be quite an exciting book, I think, definitely. And where can everyone find yourself and the book after this video?
Yeah, well, you can find me at michaelhyatt.com, and you can find the book at freetofocusbook.com. And so we've got a lot of special goodies on that site if you order it, and you just have to go back and give your receipt wherever you bought the book there. Give us the number, we'll give you the bonuses.
Lovely, lovely, brilliant. And do you plan on releasing like an Audible edition as well? Yes,
the book will be out simultaneously on Audible. I recorded the entire thing myself, and it will also be out on Kindle, so every format possible.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Michael, and to get some of your wisdom on, I think, what is something that is going to be quite a big focus in the next couple of years is getting our focus back. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Francesco.